man keeps 40%. That is 24,000 rupees of the profit. So bigger the profit, bigger is the share for the Islamic bank as well as the businessman. Lesser is the profit, lesser is the share for the businessman and the bank. But suppose the businessman goes in loss. The complete loss is borne by the Islamic bank, and the bank in turn passes that loss to the depositor. But technically, even the businessman going in loss for his thinking, for the time he has wasted 6 months, etc. He has been paid for the labor, but not for the other charges, for his thinking, for his whatever ideas he had. Technically, even he is going in loss. The major difference in Mudaraba system is that the bank has no right to interfere with the management of the business of the entrepreneur. It can take accountability every month, every week, no problem, how the business is running. But it can't interfere with the management. Suppose the businessman wants to build a building of 10 stories. So the bank cannot say, instead of 10 stories, build more, 12 stories. You can't interfere with the business. Instead of using A grade cement, you use B grade cement for more profit. The bank cannot interfere with the management of the businessman in the Mudaraba system. The second type of trading is called as a musharika system. It's called as partnership. In this, the bank has a right to interfere with the management of the business. It can give guidance. It can tell that instead of producing a particular article, you can produce another article. Instead of building a 10-story building, you build a 12-story building. In this system of musharika, the businessman has got part of the capital. The part of the capital it takes from the bank. Now, depending upon the ratio of investment, suppose both have paid 50% capital is paid by the businessman, 50% capital is paid by the bank. Whatever profit is there is again shared in the ratio which is predetermined. Say for example it's 50%, 50%. Whatever profit the people make, 50% goes to the bank, 50% goes to the businessman. If there is loss, the loss is also shared on a predetermined ratio. In the Mudaraba system, the loss is completely borne by the bank. In the Musharika system, the loss is shared on a predetermined ratio, though the ratio is different from the sharing of profit. Suppose the sharing of profit is 50% by the bank, 50% by the businessman. The sharing of loss is at a different ratio. The bank bears more loss. For example, the bank, if the business goes in loss, the bank will share 60% of the loss and the businessman will share 40% of the loss. This is the musharika system. The third type is the murhaba. In the murhaba system, suppose you want to purchase a particular machinery from Japan. The machinery costs 1 lakh rupees. In the modern bank, you open an LC, a letter of credit, or a TR, it's called trust receipt. And you put the money in the bank, and the bank buys the machinery from Japan, the modern bank, and whatever time it takes for the transaction, it charges a fixed interest on that. In the Islamic bank, you put the amount in the Islamic bank. The businessman, since he does not want to go to Japan to buy the machinery, he tells the Islamic bank, you buy the machinery for me, on my behalf. So you put that money as wakala in the bank, 1 lakh rupees. Or whatever the amount is, you put. And the Islamic bank buys the machinery on behalf of the businessman. And the Islamic bank, when it gets the machinery, it has a right to charge a profit, a commission or service charge, whatever you call it. Say the Islamic bank says that we buy the machinery for 1 lakh rupees from Japan. When we give it to you in Bombay, we want 3,000 rupees profit, or 3,000 rupees commission, or 3,000 rupees service charge. Islam gives permission. It's called, in the Islamic terminology, as ujara. It's allowed in Islam. Profit is allowed. But this profit can be negotiable. The businessman can say, instead of 3,000, you take a profit of 2,500, or whatever it is. The profit is negotiable. Suppose you have part of the finance, or you don't have finance at all for purchasing that particular machinery. You can interlink, you can combine murhaba system with the mudariba or with musharika. For example, you have part of the money, or you have no finance at all, so you don't have 1 lakh at all. You tell the Islamic bank, I want to purchase that money, I want to purchase that machinery for 1 lakh rupees, and after it comes to Bombay, I will make a profit of say 20,000 rupees on that machinery. Now they're dealing a transaction of mudariba, that the Islamic bank buys the machinery and gives it to the businessman, and the businessman says that within few months or within a few days I will sell that machinery and get a profit of 20,000 rupees. That profit is shared between the bank and the businessman and the mudarib on a ratio which is predetermined. For example, the bank says, since we are giving 100% finance, we want 60% profit. The 20% profit goes to the businessman since he is not putting a single pie. So out of the 20,000 profit that the businessman takes, that he makes, besides returning the 1 lakh rupees capital, he also gives back a profit of 60% of the 20,000 rupees. Say rupees 12,000, and the remaining 40%, remaining 8,000, he keeps for himself. This is called as the mudariba along with murhaba. The other is the musharika along with murhaba, that the businessman has part of the finance. Say of the 1 lakh rupees, he has 50,000 rupees. So he says 50,000 invested by the bank, 50,000 by the businessman, and whatever profit they have is again divided on the ratio that is predetermined. There's another system in the Islamic banking called as ijara. In the modern terminology, it can be called as leasing or hire purchase. Let's suppose you don't want to buy that machinery or vehicle. Suppose there's a car you want for 2 lakh rupees. You don't want to buy it, you just want to rent it. So the Islamic bank says, we are willing to rent this vehicle, rent the Maruti car which costs about 2 lakh rupees to you. And the rent is based on the lifespan of that vehicle. Say suppose Maruti van or Maruti car can last for 5 years. And the Islamic bank says, I want a profit of 1 lakh rupees. So the cost price of the car, 2 lakh rupees, is added with the profit they want 1 lakh rupees, 3 lakh. It's going, the car will run for 5 years, that's 60 months. So the 3 lakh rupees amount, the cost plus the profit is divided equally between 60 months. It comes to 5,000 rupees. So you rent that Maruti car to that businessman for 5,000 rupees per month. That businessman is not interested in buying the car. If the businessman says, after 3 years, I may have part of the money to buy it back, it's called as ijara ending with sale.